Alright, here's the current issue. Over 70 miles an hour, I've got a serious rattle that doesn't matter if it's in gear or in neutral. It actually seems worse if it's in neutral. Drop below 70 and it's silent. So, got no sound coming from here right now. But, watch, or rather listen, when I go over 70. There goes the rattle, 75. And if I put it in neutral, it gets worse. But it does it whether it's in gear, decelerating, accelerating, it doesn't matter. Neutral. There's 6th gear. There's 5th gear, off the gas. It's in fuel cut. And it's not rattling because the speed went under 70. So we speed back up. Here it goes. And this is how you fix it. Done. Alright, I'm rolling up to the scale right now. I don't think this is a record by any means, but we're gonna see what this thing's tipping at right now. This is the front axle. See if you can see that. It says 2,320. 3,600. So we're a little over the 3,500 rating of the axle, but not too much. Got the bed removed, and here's a look at what's going on today. So before I take this apart, I'm gonna go pressure wash everything and clean it up and open up this rear axle and see what we have going on here. Did just swap this drive shaft, but it's leaking up at the yoke. And I put some JB weld on it, but it doesn't seem to be doing the trick, so I need to remove that and seal it up somehow so you can see all the fluid up here. Right there, it's starting to drip off, and it leaves a little on the ground. Alright, all cleaned up, and I've already found something that seems off. So this tire is really easy to turn, and let's see if I can get the whole thing in the picture. But if I turn this tire, the other one doesn't really move at all, and neither does the drive shaft, and I'm moving it this much. So something's up there. It's pretty easy to turn as well. However, this side is not. I have to put considerable force in it. It's like it's dragging, so I'm not sure what we're gonna find in here, but I don't think it's gonna be looking good. So I'm getting this passenger side tire to free up by adjusting the e-brake, and it actually feels pretty good now. It spins easily. I don't think that was the issue, but I have noticed that that tire is wearing out a little bit faster than the driver's side. So if you look on the center, it's kind of smooth. Get a close up. If you look on the driver's side, it's not as worn in the center. So I think that e-brake was dragging on that side, but I don't know exactly. So it seems like there's some play in here too, maybe from a loose wheel bearing. So I think I'm gonna pull off the cover next and see where the play is coming from. So when stuff like this happens, I kind of have to try to tell myself it's all right, it's just maintenance, or I'm gonna find something that I'm glad to have found. But at the end of the day, I had to put 3 axles in this truck. But I'm pretty fortunate because I can pull this bed off and it's not that big of a deal to work on it. So, truth be told, I haven't changed this fluid in 50,000 plus miles, so we'll see how it looks. Kind of interested, actually. Yeah, doing this in a car or actually leaving the bed on, that's what I did before, it's just not fun. Maybe if you have a lift, but on a garage floor, it's not my favorite thing to do. So I feel pretty fortunate to be able to work on it this way. Alright, here we go. I might be doing a full 8.8 rebuild, so hang on tight, folks. So right now I'm feeling some play in this hub assembly on the passenger side. I don't know what's actually moving inside the differential, but on the driver's side. The driver's side's kind of on the ground, so I might need to jack it up. It seems to have more play either way. I can hear something there. I can't see the differential moving, so you guys probably know more than me at this point. Bearing looks to be, I'd say the rollers are pretty clean on this side. Side gears, and I'll show you the clutches here in a second, but we're gonna have to go over those gears, show you what I found there. And here is the passenger side, so same thing. Bearing rollers look okay. The axles that came out, this rotor is stuck to that one, that's the passenger side, and it's also missing the little O-ring that goes in that groove, so you can see it on the driver's side. It's still there. So what I saw here is that when I took this apart, this clip was missing. So the actual clip that holds the axle in right here, there goes a gear. This clip right here is nowhere to be found. It wasn't on the axle. This pin that holds in the spider gear pin was also loose, and spider gear pin seems okay. So this is the passenger side, and from what I can tell, the bearing ride's somewhere in here. Yeah, it's not pitted or anything. I can't feel it with my fingernail. This is the driver's side. Same deal, it's okay. So the first thing that made me suspect that there was issues was a vibration in the shifter. What was interesting was when I took this wheel off, the brake shoes were completely out of adjustment. And you know, like I said, I've had this apart like 60,000 miles ago, but the weird thing is this side actually wasn't worn on the shoes, unlike the driver's side. The driver's side actually has chunks missing from it, so I don't exactly know what happened here, but overall it seems like the issues were in the driver's side more than the passenger, so I was kind of surprised to see the passenger side taking more of a beating. So next up, I'm taking this differential out. We're going to look at it. This time I'm kind of tired of doing this procedure over and over, so got another plan. Actually done this before, but I installed it with the wrong gears. So as you recall, I was running a 308 gear, and this truck just doesn't have enough power for that, so I switched it over to a 410. I mentioned that several times before, and I do like that, but this track lock just has not cooperated, we'll put it that way. I have welded the clutch plates together before. Seems like if you get it into a one tire fire, you may not know it, but if you stay on the gas, then these clutches just don't handle that. And again, this one's made it 60,000 miles, so it's not necessarily a junk or anything. It hasn't broke totally. It's just they tend to wear out a little bit, and I think people recommend, you know, every 30,000 miles or so that you rebuild the clutches. So that's what we're doing here, is taking a look at the status of that and looking for that missing clip, which I do not see in here. So it's just mind-boggling to me. I don't know how it disappeared. I hunted around in the housing with a magnet. I took diff out. I can't find any clip, so I don't know if the clip was ever there.
I don't think it was. I got a left nutsack on it.
This clutch pack is 4 clutches. Factory is 3 clutches. One of the flaws is that, I guess you could call it a flaw, they put this side gear contact on one of the clutch faces, so it wears out more in that concentrated region. So you could change the stacking order to put a steel there against it and then get more surface area, but then you can't do that and also have 4 clutches, so you got to choose one or the other. This is how these clutches are supposed to look, and when I put them in here, I had to use certain older ones to get the overall thickness right. It's like 660 thousandths. And I bet this thing's probably good. I just need to replace that outer clutch that wears against the gear. So this is like a typical, what I would expect things to look like after 30,000 miles with having that. So that is the passenger side. Now the driver's side, that's where the problems are. So the driver's side is in much worse condition. So when I first put this thing together, like I said, all these clutches had material on them. They measured like 660 thousandths. This one has no material on the back, and then you can see it grinded all the way through on the gear, and it's kind of messed up the surface of the gear slightly, where it's not as smooth as it was. So I don't know if this gear is good or not anymore. And then every clutch down the line is the same. Just all the friction material is missing. So a few more burnouts, these would have welded themselves together, and then when that happens, it spins in this carrier because these things put all that force into the housing like that. So when it welds together, it breaks them all off. So overall, the gears look pretty good, except for these couple spider gears, at least one of them. This one's got a chip. One thing I did do different on this rebuild that I haven't done before is I left this S-spring out. This S-spring slides in there and holds in the axle C-clips because it sits in there like that. So I'm not sure if that's why I lost one of the C-clips. If I never put it in there, I don't know. It looks like I at a bare minimum need new spider gears, but I'm probably going to replace all those spider and side gears and re-clutch it, but I don't have enough stuff here to do that. Oh, the other thing was this. Where did I put that pin? Anyways, this holds the spider gear pin in, and this was loose. So the ring gear looks pretty good. I don't see any damage. Check this out, get close up to that. You can see the kind of gear pattern. It looks good. The bearing, that looks pretty good. I don't see any damage there. The wheel bearings look acceptable. I wouldn't say they look good. I replaced all these bearings like about 60,000 miles ago. So this is the solution here. This is a torsion gear type out of a Ford Ranger FX4 level 2. So if you look in there, you can see it's got some fancy gears. It's not a clutch type. The nice thing is you don't have to replace the clutches. What I just showed you failed, which has failed before, won't fail on this one. Will the gears fail? I don't know, but it gets rid of the pin, and it has this block in there. I've run one of these before.
See the worm gears in there?
Worm gears.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff in there. So
I'm guessing it's going to be stronger.
Well, one plus is that if you have a low tire or you have a spare on it or something, it won't chew the clutches up.
Right.
Because apparently those gears can spin at different speeds where the clutches, they can't handle that.
Look at that sexy thing. It's going to go in there, and there's going to be a lot more power.
I don't think there's going to be more power. Hopefully there's just less vibration.
There's going to be more power to the wheels. I have a feeling. It's in there nice.
No, it's not.
No, it's not yet.
It's got the wrong... I think I just put it in there backwards. No, I didn't. It's just not going in there. I think I've got too thick of shims. I'm going to have to go dig through my stash. Got the wrong shims. Maybe not. What was that?
Something fell out. Isn't that great? And that is how shit falls out, like C-clips.
Okay, I need a hammer. All right, so here's the status from yesterday. We went over all the parts that are on the bench, and I must have messed with this thing for 2 hours trying to get the preload right, but I was unsuccessful, so I'm gonna wait until it warms up a little bit out here, but I wanted to show you what issue I'm running into. Dropped it in without changing the ring gear, and this is the best I could get after a couple hours messing with the shims on both sides. So it's like clunking. I don't know if you can hear that, but I had to put a really small shim on this side. So I have a Ford Racing 410 gear set, and that's a factory Ford 410. Not sure if the gears aren't compatible, but I don't have the bolts here to change the actual ring gear today, so we're gonna have to go with plan B.